Hey, it's Sam Dameshek, and you're watching Leveled Up with Essentia. I'm a 22-year-old photographer from Laguna Beach, and I currently live in Los Angeles. How would I describe myself as a photographer? I do think that there's this connection between my camera and the person I'm shooting. I think my favorite compliment is when people tell me, I feel like you really see me for me, and you photograph me the way that I've always wanted to be photographed. I spent the majority of my childhood skateboarding. I found myself shooting more photos of people skating than I was doing video. And shortly after photographing people skating, I realized that the interest wasn't actually in, documenting somebody throwing themselves down a set of stairs. That the interest was more in capturing the people who were doing it. And I think that that's, clearly what probably led me into photographing people, which is the majority of what I do. All right, now that you guys know a little bit more about me, I'm gonna walk you through the creative process, how to apply that creative process, the principles that make up a good photo shoot on and off set. And then later on, I'm going to take you guys through a day on set and show you what it looks like to use everything that we're going to speak about. Stepping into photography, the thing that I could advise the most is to shoot as much as you can. Taking pictures is developing your eye. And the more photographs you take, the more you'll see these happy accidents where you did something you didn't mean to do, but then it opens up your brain to, oh wait, but that looks cool. How did I end up there? I would also encourage everybody to just pay attention. Photography is very visual. Look at other people's work. Carry a camera everywhere. I think that's a big thing too when you're first starting to take pictures. Always have a camera and just start trying to take photos of everything. And it continues to expand your perspective. I pull ideas from all sorts of things. A week ago, I was walking down the street and I saw some street art and I saw a painting, and I remember looking at the painting and going, well, that would be a great photograph. Every time you think of something, I would say be as proactive about doing something about it as you can. Whether it be writing it down in that instant or going and doing it, I think that getting in that habit will push you, to consistently create more and more and more in a space where you're creatively free. And the more you're creating, the more confidence you build, and then it becomes easier to create without limitation. For somebody that's new to photography, the most important principle is lighting. There's the skill set of creating lighting for an image, but then there's the skill set of creating an image based on the lighting that you have, which means, you show up somewhere or you're working and you're being dealt a hand, and you have to work with that hand. And if the lighting's not great, it's like you gotta be on your toes and think, what can you do? If I'm shooting in the middle of the day and it's harsher sunlight, you can't just go about it like you're shooting at sunset and you've got beautiful lighting. You have to pivot. There's a lot of people that are quick to say they're on a location or they go somewhere, they see something that through their eyes like, oh, that's really cool. That looks great. I love the flowers over in that corner. But is the lighting good? Is the person gonna look good? Is your image gonna look flat? Certain people would preach, oh, well, you can fix that in editing, da, da, da. Personally, I just don't like that mindset. I like taking photos and having the photos stand for what they are as soon as that shutter fires and the light hits the negative. It's like, I don't wanna rely on what I do on my computer to make it something it wasn't. I wanna find, it all exists, it's there. The light that you want, that thing that you want, it's there. So find it rather than trying to find it, after the fact. I think the creative process is kind of this balance of logistics and this balance of creativity. A lot of the times when somebody reaches out to me, they'll be like, no, what do you think? We just want you to do you. And I always tell them, I'm like, give me 2 walls to work in. I think it's important to just kind of have an understanding of what are some boundaries so that I can, I can really hone in on something. It's almost harder to create without boundaries. It's like going to a restaurant and they have so many good things on the menu that you give up and you order the chicken tenders because you don't know what to choose. But as an artist, there's no chicken tenders. You want to land with something, you want to have an idea. So whether that be, oh, this is the budget that we have, or this is how quickly it needs to be done, or this is what we're trying to say. Somebody gives me some sort of point. And then from there, I'll break down, what is possible, but also what makes sense. And that's one end of the spectrum. And then there's this other end of the spectrum where I'll have, really specific ideas. I'm aiming for one specific image that I want in an exact way. When that's the case, I call it fill in the blanks. The who, what, when, where, and why. And then from there, build some visual deck or representation that speaks to what I'm trying to accomplish. Today I have the pleasure of taking pictures of professional skateboarder Deshaun Jordan. I'm gonna be giving you guys an inside look as to what a day on set looks like. I'm very excited, let's go. Okay, so today we're gonna be shooting a photo that has a combination of natural light, some constant light, and a strobe as our key. Got a 3-foot octabox on it, which will really just disperse light around the scene, as well as, give our subject Deshaun some great beauty light for his face. Behind us, pumping through this window, is an aperture that's shooting daylight balanced light through the window to replicate sunlight coming through the window. That's the goal of a lot of lighting, is to replicate ideal sunlight. You come to a location like this, it's beautiful, and maybe there'd be great light that would have came in here, a few hours ago, or great light that was gonna come in the evening, but we're shooting right now, and that's part of the challenge of photography, and that's when you'd wanna use lighting to shape a scene and to create your ideal world. Today we're gonna be working with a range of cameras, but the primary camera that I'm going to be using is this bad boy right here, a Mamiya RZ67. It shoots medium format film, essentially just a very large frame. It allows the opportunity for a lot of light to hit a large surface area. It's a very high resolution image. For safety purposes, I always do bring a digital camera. It's a great backup, and it's a great way to kind of get an idea of what your image might look like, because you can't see what this looks like until you take the picture. I've got my right-hand man of camera, the Nikon F3. I'm gonna put black and white in this today. Secondary black and white images that will pair along with the key hero images, as you would say. My favorite film of choice, Portra 400 120, which 120 is used for medium format cameras like the RZ67. It provides a great amount of range. I love the color palette. I love that it leans into the warmer tones. And this is my go-to. I never use anything else. Love it. I have my lovely assistant, Carly, who I typically have stand in before I bring the talent into the picture. I'll move her around and get an idea of how everything's working. Once I have all the settings and the way I like the light nailed, then switch over to the film camera, and then we bring the talent in, who today will be Deshaun. Cool. Let's see. I'll take test images that are wider, that shows how the light kind of affects the entire scene. And then I like to come in closer and do portraits to make sure that the light's hitting the eye right. I remember when I first started working with lighting, I found that to be kind of intimidating, but I think the more you get used to it, it becomes exciting, because then, it's just, there's all of these different options and ways to do something, and I think that that's so much of what makes photography a fun thing, is right when you feel like you know everything, you don't. Keep looking this way. I found, the natural light coming in is getting the best reading is at 5.6, it looks like. So I'm gonna turn this down so that I can shoot at a 5.6, so this matches the sun that's coming through the window. Great, so I'm feeling like I got a pretty good idea of where everything should be. And then once Deshaun comes in, I'll run some more tests, because person to person, light affects everybody differently. But I'm thinking I like this. Yeah, excited to get to the real deal. Shawn, you ready for me?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it.
Let's get it.
So I'm gonna start with some tests on this camera, so you can just chill.
Okay.
Good energy.
Yeah.
Good energy all around. So right now I'm just trying to find a good balance of this light and the sunlight, and still maintain the contrast. Film picks up light very differently, so the whites might not be showing up on the digital, but then in the film, you might have way more of the highlights than you're anticipating. I think it's important that for your first look to always take your time setting up and make sure you weigh out the different options and see what looks better. I think that looks perfect. And we're ready to go. I pull ideas from all sorts of things. I try as hard as I can to just look at other people's work, take it for what it is, and then see what elements I could make my own. Because we're used to sort of seeing something that looks similar to something we've thought of before, that when we think of something that we haven't seen before, we're quick to go to, oh, well, that's probably a dumb idea. I mean, I've never seen, but no, that's where genius comes in. So we just finished up in the living room. We started with this light, and then I was looking at the light coming in through the window, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should do some without this guy. We did some black and white on the smaller camera, and now we're gonna go outside. We got Deshaun in an outfit, with some nice whites, some blues. Very excited. His energy's great here, and now we move on to the second look. All right, cool, so we're shooting outside now. We're gonna do just inside a couple with the light, and then I'll switch back and forth between an artificial light source and something natural. Recently, for a lot of my outside stuff, I've loved to take this and just crank it all the way up and then shoot at a high aperture. And it almost gives this like cardboard cutout surreal type look to the eye. I have him in the shade, hitting him with the same output of light that's the sun hitting the background. And so just the whole image will have a flatness, but a good kind of flatness. Yeah, let's get started. All right, that's a wrap on today's shoot. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Leveled Up. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed the process, and I'm very, very excited to share all the photos with you. If you want to learn more about me and see more of the work that I create, you can follow me on Instagram at Sam Dameshek. That's SAMDAMESHEK. Thank you.